All right. Again, my name is Thomas Enuru. Within the GMS and Africa framework, I'm a training assistant based in Makerere University, but also within the university, I'm a graduate research assistant with specialization in GIS and remote sensing, and also for biodiversity sort of mapping and all that. Those are my details. Today we are going to continue with the methodology, but within the methodology, we're going to look at how to acquire Earth observation data, as well as process it towards analyzing or assessing the wetland vulnerability. So to start, a recap is that the WVA tool utilizes both data generated from stakeholder consultation and Earth observation data. So this is a very key statement, that when we are going to analyze or assess the vulnerability of wetlands, there will be two aspects that has to play. One is the stakeholder information or contribution, as well as the use of Earth observation data. Now, by tomorrow, we'll be able to see that actually there's already a customized tool that has already been generated to automate the process of generating the wetland vulnerability analysis maps or outputs. But today we're going to look at how do you prepare data to be ready for the tool. Now, wetland country level data should always be collected in accordance with the Dipsa Framework. Yesterday we looked at the Dipsa Framework and we said that Dipsa is an acronym of driver pressure, which are basically the exposure component of the vulnerability, state and impact, which looks at the sensitivity, as well as the response, which looks at adaptive capacity of the vulnerability concept. Below, you'll see a table that shows a list of data sets and the different indicators, which some of them we are going to look at today. So in a recap is that vulnerability domains consist of exposure on your left-hand side, sensitivity, and resilience or adaptive capacity. So for your workflow to be credible enough, you need to use it based on applied practices. So and that's why we are looking at these domains in terms of the IPCC definition of vulnerability. And then in the middle, you'll see that the different indicator variables or the factors that we mentioned yesterday are listed for each domain. So these are not exhaustively the data sets that can be used, but basically these are the examples. All that is important is you need to know, in terms of the data sets that you're using, under which domain does it fall. So for exposure, we see population growth or density, climate change, and the proxy data. The proxy basically explains what type of data would you use within the different indicator variables. So climate change is an indicator variable, but the data sets that you'll use, it's not climate change in terms of Earth observation data, but rather you're going to use drought or the standard precipitation index data, which measures drought. So this, you could also use, like my colleague mentioned yesterday, that you could also use another approach of generating the drought. In our case, we are looking at the standard precipitation index, which is the SPI. Population growth can only be mapped spatially within the Earth observation data by looking at the population density. It could also be other approaches, but for our example, we are looking at the population density data. The indicator variable is urban development or urbanization and settlements, but the proxy data set that we can possibly use within the GIS or the Earth observation environment is the built-up index or the normalized difference of built-up index. You could also use the nightlight data or the nightlight representation of how urbanization is growing or developing. And in this case, that could also be a proxy data for looking at urbanization and settlement. We also see the fragmentation farming within the wetlands, and we say that you can generate this information from the land use land cover data. So if you have the land use land cover data, you can extract the farmings within the wetland areas. Then we also have degradation of wetlands. So you could have a degraded layer, which probably can be helpful for you to generate that proxy data for that indicator variable. Now, we also see that under sensitivity, there are suggested data sets here. So you can look at ecosystem services. Ecosystem services is an indicator, but the proxy data could be generated from the land use land cover. Also, vegetation of wetlands can be generated from the normalized difference of vegetation index. Water quality, quantity, and turbidity could also be generated from the indices, either the normalized difference of vegetation index, and also there are others that we are going to actually work with today hand in hand. Then resilience or adaptive capacity could look at the wetland protection level. Yesterday I mentioned that you can be able to generate a list of wetlands that are within protected areas, or wetlands that have been considered, like now we have wetlands that have been considered under Ramsar framework, and these wetlands have been selected due to the fact that they house very important species. So if a wetland is under a Ramsar framework or Ramsar program, it means that wetland is having a very high level of protection. So the level at which it will be vulnerable to degradation will differ from that is just in the open within the rural areas where there is no much monitoring as well as enforcement in terms of its protection. So you can use the protected area data set together with the wetland boundaries, or you could also just use the land use land cover data to generate the wetland areas, and then classify them in terms of the level of protection that they have. The laws and policies, like we mentioned yesterday, some of these are basically qualitative information which you can include within your analysis by using the weights. So if the laws and the policies governing a certain wetland is much better in terms of protecting its degradation levels, then you give it a bigger weight and so forth. So some of these things will play at a later stage. We shall see them in details. But this table gives you a quick summary of the kind of data sets that we'll be interacting with, but also how you plan and also classify the required data sets for your analysis of a wetland vulnerability. These fonts are rather very small. I'm just going to increase it a bit because they're too tiny and I don't want to make your eyes Sorry about this. I just worked on them today, so I didn't check. Okay. So in this segment, basically what we're going to be looking at are the software installation. So we'll try and go as slow as possible to ensure that all of us are following up through. I don't want to leave anyone behind. So in case you feel I'm leaving you behind, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll try to slow down so that you're not left behind. So the main software that we're going to use today is the QGIS software, and preferably a version 3.16 long-term release, which you can be able to obtain from this link. So I'm wondering if you're looking at the screen, the browser where I'm going to download the QGIS from. So do you see a browser showing the link where the QGIS can be downloaded? So when you go to the browser, from this link, you should be able to see okay. So when you scroll down, this is not the version that I would want you to download, but rather it's better to download the long-term release software or the installer. This is the latest release, but it sometimes has a lot of bugs, so it is not stable. So it's better you download this other one. So I'll give you about less than maybe 3 minutes to see if anybody is having a challenge. And probably if you don't have the software right now, I talked about it yesterday that you try and install the software so that by today you have ways to go. So quickly. Please keep your mics muted. We won't allow people to unmute themselves. So if you're not going to say anything, please mute your mics. Yeah, if you have QGIS from version 3 and above, it will work. Someone is saying, you don't have to downgrade. You already have 3.2.1, so it will work, though it is not very stable. 3.14 is also okay. 3.16 is fine. Yeah, from 3 and above should be able to work fine. You should be able to follow along. So I'm going to put the link on the chat just in case there are those who have a problem following. I'm going to share the plugin links later. Let's first go step by step. So I'll start on my QGIS. If you've installed successfully your QGIS, and then that's good. Okay, we are going to close allowing people to unmute because you've started misbehaving.
Okay.
Okay, so I've started my QGIS. So quickly what we do is you go to the plugin under the menu bar. So when you go to plugin, you select manage and install plugins. So when this window opens, So when this window opens, search for semi-automatic classification. Semi-automatic classification. I already have mine one here. I've already installed it. So just click on semi-automatic classification plugin and then click on install. So since I already have, I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade. Okay. So next, what we need to install is the value tool. So again, you go to plugin and then look for value tool, value. So make sure you click on all on the left hand side. So the tool that we're interested in is called value tool. It's right here. So I'm going to install mine. So most times when you install it, it docks itself on the lower left corner of your screen. So next, what we have to install is the Easy AHP. In case you have challenges, I'm looking at the chat, so you can just type something in the chat and then we see how we can help you. So go to the plugins again, and then I click on all under the menu. I select Easy. I think it was downgraded or something. Can't see it. So it's fine if it is not there. Let's go and look for it. So basically we are going to search for Easy AHP QGIS plugin from the browser. Easy AHP QGIS plugin. So we're going to select the QGIS Python plugin repository. And then you should be able to see Easy AHP here. So click on download. It's a very small piece of software, very short. So the moment you download it, let me paste the link on the chat, okay? Adrian, which version of QGIS are you having? Because semi-automatic classification plugin is available from QGIS 2.18. So I don't know. MacBook Air, it's a long process to install it, which we will not be able to go through with it here. But when you go to QGIS, download repository, you'll go down and you'll be able to download for Mac OS. So there's a long process of doing it. You need to first install Python, and then later you should be able to install it. But the whole process of installing it in macOS platform is right here. Ismail, it is not automatic. You're missing A. It's supposed to be semi-automatic classification, like this. Please try searching for it again. You should be able to see it. All right. So after downloading the software, the Easy AHP, go back to your QGIS, go to plugins, and select install plugins. In this case, we're going to use install from zip. Okay. So somebody is already getting errors. So let me see what happens. Couldn't install due to fast factory error. Okay. So let me get my way around this. Under settings, we should be able to allow can allow show also experimental plugins, and then show decapitated plugins. Also here we can load another repository, maybe. Let me see. So let me try again. So it's here, but it's saying it's not compatible with this version. So try uninstalling it again and try again. Anyone else who has done maybe AHP analysis within QGIS and maybe they have an idea of the new software that is there or plugin, that would be helpful. Yeah, a 2.18 version works quite well. Can you share the link, the one you got from GitHub, Edwin? share the link on the chat so that people can be able to go and get it. Thank you, Edwin. So the link has been shared, so try and see how you can be able to pick it. Version 1.1 should be able to work. So when you go there, when you click the link, click on code, and then this, basically this green part, and then click on download the zip file. So when you download the zip file, you go to your QGIS plugin. First, try to check under the all, try to check that the one that you tried installing earlier is removed. So when you search for easy, it should be shown here in red. So click on it and uninstall so that when you bring the other one, it should be able to work. So let me try installing the one Edwin has shared. So it's easy AHP-master. Perfect. It installs perfectly well. Those who have failed to download from the link, you can also pick it from the chat here. Yeah. So when I go to install plugin, I should be able to see easy AHP here. So you realize we can learn from each other. Perfect. Okay. So when you install it, you need to locate it from your window, your graphical user window of QGIS, but also you can go to plugins, and then you should be able to see it right here. Okay. Next, what we need to do is let's go back to our PowerPoint. We are also going to download some of the plugins here, which I'm going to share with you shortly. I'm going to paste the link on the chat. So through the same process, we are going to download this plugin called WorldPop. I'll just click on the link. The same thing that we did. I just click here and then download the zip file. But I'm also going to share the zip file that I had already downloaded here. Okay, if somebody has gotten it already, you can just paste it on the link on the chat so that those who don't want to go to the URL can be able to just to pick it quickly. I should be having it here. So in that case, you go back to install from the zip file. I already have it, so I'm not going to reinstall it. But quickly, if you're having challenges, in the link that I shared, you can be able to see the details of how to install the program from here. Okay, so first you so you basically download the zip file and then go to QGIS, install from file. Okay, why are people getting errors? Let me uninstall and install. The first one is wrong. So which one? Are there people getting challenges? Ismail, thank you for sharing. I hope yours is working fine. People are getting errors. So let me uninstall mine and then install. Okay. Can you just try maybe using the one I shared? Using the one I shared, not the master one, but this other one. So basically you have to first make sure before you install the one I've just shared, go to your plugins, look for what you've installed, which is WP something, PGP, WPGP, and the error that you see, it will be highlighted in red. Make sure you remove it. Okay, and then try reinstalling the one I've shared afresh. Now sometimes when you enable under the settings, when you enable experimental plugins, sometimes they are not very stable. So just try to uncheck it back to normal. Remember we had done the checking some of these things, so just uncheck them so that you don't see experimental plugins within your area. Catherine, please try the one I've just shared. I'm going to upload it again. It's a very small piece of software plugin, really. It's working, so try and download the one I've just shared. If you have friends who are missing the training for today, please, you can let them know so that they come on board. Today we are going to do a lot of hands-on, so it will be much beneficial for them as well. Okay, if you've lost it, then I'm sharing it again, and then try downloading what I'm sharing so that you in the same page with us. Ambrose, try the file that I've just shared. It should be able to work perfectly well. Okay. Seems like people are doing well. Someone is asking next step. Rukundo, you're behind. So what you're supposed to do is to install these plugins. One is the value tool, and then the next one is the Easy AHP. Now the Easy AHP was shared here. So if you don't have it, I'm going to reshare it again and then try installing it. The one we are installing now is the Wallpop plugin. And then next, we are going to install the white toolbox. Okay, sharing the list of the plugins here. The other is the Wallpop. Wallpop and white toolbox is what we are going to install. Wallpop is the one that I've just shared, sorry. I'm going to share this again if you're not seeing it. Easy Master and Wild Population plugins, both of them. I've shared two of them. Okay, I'm giving this few minutes and then we should be able to start on. So next, those who have managed to install all the other plugins can now go to the next one, which is the white toolbox. So I'm sharing the link here. The link for the white toolbox is there. So try installing and see. Someone is having challenges. So we'll go through the process of installing the white toolbox. You may not be able to do it alone. The process is a bit different. So I'm going to share the file also here for white toolbox. Okay. Someone is saying they don't have a link for. So link for the wild population plugin is here, but make sure you download under installation instruction. You download the latest release, which is here, the zipped file. Not from up here, because this one seems to have errors. So under instruction, you download this one. Oh, my slide is not well written. Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, I've shared the link for white toolbox. So click on it and download the software, but also I have shared the file for white toolbox already. So just pick it from here. It's about 7 MBs. So I'm going to just uninstall mine so that we can be able to go step by step together. I'm going to refresh my QGIS so that I avoid some errors. Okay, so I'm sharing the instruction of how to install the white toolbox here. Florence, you're welcome. Okay, so when you click on the instruction that I've just shared, you'll be able to scroll down. Should be having some errors here. Let me check quickly. They seem to be the same. Sorry. So no problem. Let's just go to the white toolbox. And then you click where I downloaded it from. You can provide your details, but you can also ignore. So just go to learn more about the white toolbox. Here you'll be able to see the process of installing it. Okay. So I'm going to share the link so that you don't have to go through a lot of trouble. So I'm sharing with you the link of where you can be able to get more details of how to install, but we'll go through this process step by step. I need to edit this. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to do from your QGIS is to create a repository. Now, you go to the plugins, and under the plugin, you're going to you click on settings. Hope you're following. So under the plugin, you go to settings and then click on add. Now, just type something like white toolbox plugin, white toolbox. or just leave it on white toolbox. Now the URL is what I'm going to share with you on the link right now. So under the installation of the plugin, you'll see the URL right here. I'm pasting it also in the chat so that people can be able to access it, the link. So copy that link, and then under QGIS, it's what you'll paste here. So authentication, you can leave it empty, and then you just click on OK. I could have pasted something wrong, I don't know. So add the repository white toolbox. Oh, I'm just using a wrong. Let me just select what is here. So you can also type your name and just say Thomas Plugins or something. Is anyone getting an error also? Yeah, it works well. I think I'd put some space at some point within my URL, so it messed it up. Okay, so when you're done with that, we are going to go to the next step of installing the white toolbox. So locate the processing under the menu. It's it's like a wheel right here. Yakub, you have to be very fast because we may not have a lot of time today. So when you're there, click on processing. So when you click on processing, you should be able to have this window opened. And then click on settings or options here. This tool looks like a spanner. When you click on it, it should be able to open this window, option processing. Click on providers, this drop down sort of arrow next to providers. It will open Fortunately, I don't see the toolbox here. Okay, before we go there, sorry, Howard, I have to move a little fast, but I'm trying to be as slow as possible. So let's go back to plugins. I should have skipped a step. Then you go to all and search for white toolbox. So now you should be able to see it right here. So when it's here, click on it and then click on install. Okay. Open your plugin menu. You go to manage and install plugins. And then you click on all and type here white toolbox. So you should be able to see it here. And then make sure you install it. Medi, Mayanja, where did you get lost from? You shall get back there later, so don't worry. Okay. All right. Next, we basically have to click on this wheel. So when you click on this wheel, it should open the processing toolbox. Now under the processing toolbox, click on this banner, which will open an option menu. So then under the option menu, click. Now you can be able to see the white toolbox here. Yes, the recording is going to be there, but it would be better if you are following together with us so that you get results. It's more interesting if you're working together. But don't worry, every time we shall be using some of these plugins, we'll go through the process again. So don't worry. So now you'll be able to see the white toolbox under the providers. So click on this menu to open. And then on the right hand side, click on this window. Mine is already connected because I'd already connected earlier. So double click on this section. And then when it opens, it will allow you to see the browsing section, which is probably, so when you double click, you should be able to click on here to browse to where the file is. Remember you had downloaded it earlier, the white toolbox that you downloaded earlier. So the white toolbox is right here. So make sure you first unzip it. I'll take you through this process again later, so don't worry. So unzip it here. So when you unzip, you should be able to see a folder called WBT. Double click and then select the executable file, which is this one. Yes, the one with application as a type. So when you do that, then you click on open. Now your toolbox should be able to run perfectly well. So we'll click on OK. I'll take you through this process later when we come back to the stage of installing the white toolbox and when we are going to use it. For now, it's fine, don't worry. Okay. I don't know whether you need a break or something because we're going to another section. So let's go through the process of data acquisition. Now, because people are wind up with so many things, I want to start with the easy parts. So let's start with acquiring the S3 land cover of 2020. Remember in here we talked about a number of data sets. We talked about land use, land cover, normalized difference of vegetation index, built up index. You see this standard precipitation index, population density, and so forth. So we'll go through the process of acquiring all these data sets and the sources where you can get them from. So I'm going to paste the link for the S3 land cover on the chat. I'm going to share this presentation later. So if you're having problems or challenges following, you should be able to get it later. Okay. So I'm going to paste this link on the chat. So click on that link and you should be able to go to ArcGIS or S3 or arcgis.com. Under the arcgis.com, you'll be able to see this page, and then click on, scroll down. First of all, you'll be able to study a number of things here. You'll be able to see that when you download these data sets, it comes with the different classes of 1 to 10. And this is the meaning of all these classes. This is very important because later we are going to come back here. But what is very important is, let's go to the viewer. So open a map in, either we can open in this, we can open it in the viewer. So just click on open in the viewer. So you should be able to study some of these land cover types in this area. When I was assessing, remember, part of acquiring data set is to make sure that the data set that you're getting is actually credible enough. You don't just pick data because it's available. I went to the Elgon region and I saw some bit of things that were not, I don't think these are all built up areas in Elgon mountains, mountain slopes. I think it was overclassified at this point because red is basically built up areas. As you can see, Kampala the way it is, so these are basically urban or built up or settlements areas. So I thought that was overclassified. And then let's see how the wetlands were performing here. Yeah, here the wetlands look okay. So I'll just go back one step after viewing my data. And you're going to scroll down. I just remember, where are you? Just 1 second. I think I got a wrong link where to download the data from. Let me just search for it quickly. Sri Lanka cover. Download. So I'm going to share with you the downloader link for the downloader so that come on. So I'm sharing with you the link for the downloader. So click on that link and you should be able to come to where I am. So we shall close this window. Now, what Esri has done is to make sure that it provides data in tiles. So each square is basically a tile. So if you click on a tile, you should be able to download that tile to cover the area of your interest. I think if it's of your interest, it's better if you have all these data sets covering your country or even the whole continent. Like I managed to download the data. First of all, I downloaded the one that is covering the globe, but also I downloaded the ones covering Africa and also the East Africa region separately, because you never know, very soon it may not be free of charge out there. So my interest today is going to be, there's a lake here we're going to do a lot of analysis on. It's actually this one in around Mitiana, though it doesn't give a good reflection, but we could also pick a lake or wetland area in Kenya. I think Naivasha could be an interesting one as well, because it has undergone a lot of degradation due to the effect of climate change. So what you do is, after locating where you want to do a study on, you click on that tile. So in this case, it is going to be this tile. So click on that tile. So the moment you click on it, it will show you the size of the file. It will show you the size of the file, and you'll have a link here where you can be able to download the file. Using it even shows it's in zone 37. So when you click on it, you should be able to download that file quickly. The tiles are big, so if you don't have very good internet connection, it might take you long, but I've taken you through the process of reaching there. So feel free to download this data even later. I'm just going to update this link so that so my internet connection is good, so I've already gotten my file. I'm going to create a folder, and this should be done by all of us. We create a folder where all our data sets are going to be sitting. Go to desktop, and then we put wetland vulnerability analysis data, and then I paste my first layer here, and I rename it land use land cover. The file is quite big. I don't think I can be able to share it here though. That's the Richard. The reason why we are downloading the 2021 is because it's the one that's recently available. The 2021, rather, I don't know where I can find any, but if you have one, please let us know and we could share it as well. So people want the file. Let me try sharing it, but it's quite big. So if you have very low internet, you may not be able to download it now. Okay. Next, the data that we want to download is the SPI data, or the Standard Precipitation Index data. Okay. So I need to I should have forgotten to add this. Yeah, Christella, that's right. I'm giving you some more time. That's why I'm doing other things. Thank you. So I've shared the data that I downloaded on the chat. So you can also try and see whether you can be able to get it. So I'm going to share with you the link for downloading the SPI and other kinds of data sets. Musime, you're saying there's no audio, but I can hear quite well. Maybe your internet connection. So I've shared the link for this data center here in the chat. So you can either use the first link or the second one. Still same, you're going to reach to this point. Audrine, I don't know what you mean. So I shared the link for the download of the land use land cover. If you didn't get it, I'm going to share it again. So when you click on that link, you'll be able to see the application for downloading the land use land cover. And for your area of interest, if your area of interest is in Tanzania, maybe you're interested in studying this lake, okay? You realize that this lake is covered by 2 tiles. So the tiles, what I'm meaning by tiles are the squares you're seeing in bright blue. So in this case, you will have to download this tile and this one in order to do a study on this lake. And how do you download a tile? You click on the middle or anywhere inside that square, and then it will open for you a window like the one I have here, and then provide you the download link, which you can just click and you'll be able to download this file. It will come as a TIFF file, so it will be able to work for you. If you want for this other one, you also click down and be able to download that tile. Okay, so let's go and download also the SPI data, which is a proxy for assessing drought. There are also other data sets that are used as a proxy for drought, but for our case, let's just use the standard precipitation index. So I've shared the link on the chart here for where to download the standard precipitation index. So click on it. It's by FuseNet. They've actually created an application that works with the Google Earth Engine. So it allows you to get most of the data sets that are in the Google Earth Engine. So if you're there, please let me know so that we start off. We're about to have a short break because I'm sure people are now getting weekend. Me too. All right. So if you're here, the first thing that you need to do is on the right hand side, on the left hand side rather. Now use the second link, the one I've just pasted. That one. You could also get to this point through FuseNet. So basically what you do is you come to this point, FuseNet Data Center, and then you select Remote Sense Imagery. So when you click on Remote Sensing Imagery, you'll be able to see the climate engine here. So you click on the climate engine and it will take you to the same spot here. All right. So on the left hand side, you need to start selecting your variables. So for the variables that we're interested in is climate and hydrology. We shall also see how to utilize the remote sensing data as well as hazard and forecast. So under type, select climate and hydrology. Under the data sets, we are going to select CHAPS, daily precipitation. We shall just leave the units to millimeters. And the resolution also, we are going to leave it so it's about 5 kilometer. We know CHAPS is a 5 kilometer pixel size data. And then the processing statistics, we are going to just leave it on total. The calculated values can be any of this, but the one we're interested in is the standardized index. Emily, I got to this interface from this link, so just click on that link and you'll be able to get to the interface. Let me know when you're there. Emily, are you there? Just type a yes and then I'll be able to know you're there. Maxam, you're going too farther than us, but we'll get there. Okay. So in a recap, when you reach this interface, under the variables, we are going to select the type, and the type we're interested in is climate and hydrology. Under the data sets, we are interested in, under precipitation, we select CHAPS daily. And then the variable is going to be the standard precipitation index. You're there? So when you select standard precipitation index, the processing extent really changes. So if I leave it in precipitation, you'll see that this will display differently, but when I pick SPI, it automatically changes as well. So under calculation, you're interested not in correlation, in the slope of trend, but rather the index itself. And then time period, you want to select the custom date range, but also you could select these others. For the last 12 months, that means you only want for 2020. But for our case, we're going to select the custom range. Under the start date, open and check. For example, this is really a decision that you'll have to make based on the seasonality of your country. In our case, we see that most wetlands get dry and making them more vulnerable during the rainy season. So you can also decide during the dry season, sorry. But you can also decide to say, okay, I want to assess during the rainy season how vulnerable my wetland is in terms of the level of drought and so forth. So I'll just pick January 1st, 2020. I change here the year to 2020 and the month I change to Jan. If you want other periods, you can also do that. So 2020. So you first change the month and then you change the year and then you click on the date. Okay, that's how it works. And then next, on the end date, I'm just interested in up to March 2020. So I click on the date, I change to March, and then I click on the year to 2020, and then I click 31st as the end date. Now the year range for historical average distribution, this may not apply for us because we're not doing any averaging and all that, okay? But sometimes, if for example here I select precipitation, the calculation values will really change because, for example, if you want to see anomalies of rainfall and all that, then you can be able to pick difference from the average, percentage difference from the average, or the percent of average condition. So this will give you the percent of the period that you'll have named that average layer for that period When I say period, I mean start date and end date. So we'll just leave year range for historical average distribution to just the way it is, because it's not going to apply for us. So then you click on get layer. Now when you click on get layer, automatically it will generate a layer for you on the right hand side here. So you wait for it to finish processing. Some of you might have very slow internet connectivity. Akuzimana Pascal, yes, I am talking. I don't know why you're not hearing me. Okay, it's really taking so long. But for our case, let's just cancel the request. We first zoom to our area of interest. In my case, I am interested in Nakuru. So I tap the control key and then zoom to Nakuru. Naivasha, I think, not really Nakuru. So I just make it full screen so that it helps me quickly get to this section. Actually, what I was supposed to do was to first select my area of interest before saying get value. Maybe this would have been faster. So I'm just going to go through it again so that so I'm going to zoom to Naivasha, which is around okay. I don't know where our Kenyan friends are, but I seem to be lost. Naivasha. Okay, let me just stay with this. Wilson, is this Nakuru? Okay. Eldoret. I'm so bad at knowing my neighbors very well. Oh, okay. So let me just stay with the bigger part of Kenya. I think I will be able to see it. Okay. So I'll go through the same process again, climate and hydrology. I go through CHAPS daily. I pick standard precipitation index. I select aggregation, custom range, and then I pick Jan 2020, 1st of Jan 2020, and then March 2020, and March 2020 on the 31st. So I don't click on get data, and then I scroll up. And then under this section, I go to the download section, but before I click on the download section, I'll select under map download option 1, I select rectangular region. So when I do that, automatically a rectangle is going to be drawn for me. I needed my lake badly, but seems like I'm not lucky. So let me just pick this section of the lake. It's okay. I'll figure out. So you can use your the different angles to be able to expand your rectangle where you want to download. You can also download for your country. You don't necessarily have to download mine. You should pick from your country or that particular wetland you're interested in, and then just download the data that you want for that area, and then we'll be able to go through the process together. So when I go back here under the download menu, I have selected rectangle region, and when I scroll down, I leave my resolution to be native, and then I check autofill file name. It's very important because when you have a number of files, you might lose track of it. So let it autofill, and then you can click on download the layer. So for study purposes, please try to download a small area. This is Google Earth Engine, so if you put a bigger area, the resolution, the number of pixels will exceed the maximum, so you'll not be able to download the file. Now when it brings this window, click on download, go to download, or go to link in order for you to download this file, and automatically you'll be able to get the file. If you picked a smaller area, it should be a very small file. So I have my file here. I'm going to take and put it in my folder, the one I've created for my datasets. And then unzip it. So I have a WinRAR unzipper, so I'll just extract here. And then when I extract here, I can be able to delete that. And leave it, rename it as SPI. Let me share the file also for those who have not managed to download here. Although it was very important that if you could download your own, it would be much better. So now we have two data sets. We have standard precipitation index data, and then we have the land use land cover data. Next, we need to use the same platform to obtain other data sets, and the one we're interested in is going to be first we are interested in NDVI and also the normalized difference of water index. So we'll go back to under the variables, we select remote sensing. So when you select remote sensing, we are interested in Landsat 8. You could also decide to go with Sentinel data, which is here. But for our case, let's just work with Landsat 8 surface reflectance. So there is also top of atmospheric layer, but let's pick the surface reflectance for Landsat 8. So these are already cloud-free composite data sets, so it's perfect. You'll see even when we are going to be downloading the satellite imageries for calculating other things like built-up index and so forth, we're going to be obtaining them from here. although we are going to go through another process or another source of way of obtaining data. So the variable that we are interested in is the NDVI. You could also decide to pick, we are going to work with water index. If you're working with the ocean things, you can also pick the chlorophyll for the ocean. But here we are just interested in normalized difference of vegetation index. So click on NDVI. And the resolution, of course, it's 30 meters. So that's good. Now in here, under statistics, you could go with the mean. So you want to have the mean for NDVI for a certain range, which we are going to select, specify here. So we're going to leave this date to be the same, 1st to 3rd, 1st of Jan to 31st of March, so that we are consistent. So under statistics, we pick the mean. The calculated value will be basically the average condition. And the date range start will be Jan. Under calculations, you have to select average conditions. And then under time period, don't select the others, but just select custom date, which is the topmost. Custom date range. So you will also explore this application further. Outside the training, you'll actually see it makes a lot of sense. It's very vital and does a lot of work. So we need from Jan 1st to March 31st. And the year range average that we're interested in is going to be, let's say, from 2019 to 2020. So we want to see, so based on your literature review and understanding of how the drought frequencies happen in your country, this is where you play around with the dates in order to select the data sets which cover the right period. Okay, so we are getting the average of 2019 to 2020 for the months of Jan to March. Okay, remember, when you're really assessing drought is as a result of climate variability, and always they look at 30 years plus. Okay, so if you have ability to increase these dates, that would be good. But for the ones we are using, since we picked Landsat 8, if you had picked maybe, let's say, Landsat 5, let's see the range of dates that are available. So for Landsat 5, you'll be able to stop in 2011. You can't go beyond 2011. But then the previous dates will be from 1984. So you can decide to pick for the historical year and then later get for the recent years as well. So I'm just going to stick with that for now. 2019 to 2020, Jan and March of 31st. Okay. So checking quickly, I'll be able to see that my data is selected. And then you scroll up, you go to download. You don't even say get layer right now. You're not interested in displaying it. But if you want to study it, you can also get map layer, and then you can be able to download it. So here you'll see that the native resolution is at 30 meter. So then you can click on download. So it is going to download for you the NDVI for that area. Now here it's showing me that I have an error. Now the error always comes when the total request size is bigger than what Google Earth Engine can provide. And that's why it's very important that you don't pick a very big area of interest. If your interest is really this lake, then you just have to reduce this square to something quite a small area so that you don't get such errors. So I'll just reduce it because I'm interested in this small wetland. And then when I go back to download, Noel, how do you select? So selection, you go to download. I hope that's what you mean. And then under the map download option 1, you select rectangular region, not select a region, but rather rectangular region. So the moment you click on rectangular region and you've already zoomed to your area of interest, the rectangle is going to come by default. And then you can sort of shift it a little bit by clicking on the rectangle and moving it around and put it to your area of interest. You can also reduce or increase the rectangle using the corner arrows or the different arrows that you can see there. Noel, I hope you have answered you. The download is you must scroll up, you must go, if for example you're down here, you must use this wheel, okay, to be able to scroll up, okay, and then you should be able to see the download link or the download section here. Okay, Florence, are you there? Just type yes if you've perfect. Okay, so when you click on download, you select rectangular region, you leave the rectangle values the way they are. If you want to change them, then you can just click on the rectangle and change where you want it to be. Okay, playing around with these figures might be very tricky, but if you also have defined extent, you can enter the figures here. Then the resolution, you leave it on native, and then you check autofill file name. So then you click on download file or download the map. It will bring for you a window which will give you a link. Okay, so you can copy this link and then paste it on your browser to download the file, or you can just click on go to the link. So when you click on go to link, and if you have a very good internet connection, it will quickly download for you your file. Okay, mine is taking forever. I don't know what's wrong. So I'll go back there, and so my download has come through here. So I click on start downloading. If you have selected a smaller area, the file shouldn't be big. It should be something manageable for your internet. So quickly I'll copy this file from my download link. I go to the folder where I've created for my data. I extract it or unzip it and rename it as NDVI. Okay, so now we have 3 sets of data sets. We need to move a little faster. Time is going so fast, and we are going to have a break shortly at exactly 4, so that the remaining 1 hour, we see if we can be able to go faster to finish the remaining parts. So next, what we need to do is we have to go and look for, we're going to use the Landsat still under the variable here. So type should remain remote sensing. Dataset should be Landsat 8 surface reflectance. The reason why you are interested in surface reflectance is because there is top of atmospheric data here, but this dataset is affected by the effect of the atmosphere. So what we need is the actual values of the surface reflectance, which is more accurate in terms of studying the water variables in terms of the quality and quantity and so forth. So we're interested in the surface reflection data, which is much better than the top of atmospheric data. So in our, under the variables, we are interested in the water indices, and for water indices, we are going to pick the one for near infrared and the SWIR. So basically the first one. So click on the first one. You can also try the other indices and see which one actually fits much better. And based on research, actually this one is works much better probably. Let me just check my books. Water quality. So the NWI is basically helping us to assess the soil moisture content or the soil moisture around the lake or around the wetland. Because if the wetland, remember the definition of a wetland is that it has to be moist throughout the year. So if the moisture is less, then that wetland will be a little bit more vulnerable. Not necessarily, merely your rectangle might differ. Later we'll see how do we use QGIS to make sure that all these data sets are covering the same extent. Okay. So coming here, under the processing, we'll still leave the mean, average condition, and we'll still leave the year to be the same. So quickly after defining that, you can just go up to the download section, click on download, leave the rectangle the way it is, and then scroll down and then click on download map layer. So still the same, go to the link, okay, I'll give it some time. I'm sure it is very busy because all of us, about how many, 225 people are accessing the same link or the same website. So I understand if it is a bit slow, but when people are not so many there, it's quite fast. You just quickly download things. So I'll leave it there. In that case, let's go and try to acquire another data set, then later we'll come back here as that one tries to download. So let's go to QGIS. I'm going to download this. The name of the variable was underwater index. Select the first one. So the name of the variable is underwater indices. You select the NDWI, basically the first one, using near infrared and shortwave infrared one. So you pick this one. Okay. So I'm going to pick the NDWI, copy it and put it to my folder of datasets. I paste it here and then extract it. And then I rename it NDWI. Okay. Next, we want to go to QGIS and also obtain the population data. Now, before we go to QGIS, or rather you can go there already, but I'll just show you something quickly under the world population data. So the world population data is actually just sitting here. It's under the worldpop.org. There are quite a number of data sets also there. So I'm just going to paste this for you on the link. This is not a subject of discussion, but I'm just going to show you quickly things about it. So under the world pop data, there are quite a number of data sets that you can be able to come and find here. But go to data. When you go to data, you scroll down and you go to population density here. So when you click on population density, you're not supposed to follow this. I'm just taking you through. The data set covers approximately 1 kilometer in radius. And all you do is either you can pick the unconstrained individual countries, which starts from year 2000 to 2020, or the unconstrained individual countries, which is UN adjusted. So the first one is not adjusted. The second one is adjusted by the UN data. So when you click on it, you can come here and you'll see that a number of countries are being displayed. So you search for your country, maybe Ethiopia. So when you select Ethiopia, you'll be able to get data sets for Ethiopia from year 2000 up to 2020. So when you click on data and resources, you'll be able to download the layer for the raster layer for that year, basically the gridded population data. But in our approach, we are going to use the QGIS plugin that we've installed earlier to access this data. So quickly, what we have to do is you go to the plugin which you've already installed earlier, and then you will be able to see WPGP datasets, and then click on download world pop global dataset. So when you click on it, it will open. Sometimes it doesn't show on the window here. So allow that this brings this window. Just say yes to that window. So it will come, but the problem is it's going to hide behind your computer sometimes. So you need to, it's just opening, and then I'll show you what we have to do next. So you see it has come, but now it is hiding behind. So when you come here, you should be able to locate it here. Under the taskbar, just put a cursor on QGIS and you'll see it here, this window, then you click on it. So I'm just going to expand it so that we can be able to see. So scroll down to where your country is. We're interested in Kenya because I'm doing most of my training right now using Kenya as my country of interest. So come to Kenya. So when you click on this drop down arrow next to Kenya, it will open another menu, and there are quite a number of data sets that are there, but the one we want is the PPP, which is the estimated number of people per grid cell country. Okay. So the one we're interested in is of 2020, which is UN adjusted and not constrained. So just UN adjusted. So when you click on it, you click on browse, and then it will open for you a directory where you can be able to select a folder to download your data. So I'm going to select my data folder and then click on select folder. So automatically it's going to start downloading the dataset for that you have selected. So go ahead and then click on download. So depending on your internet connection, it won't take really long. Okay, so as it downloads, we are going to go for a short commercial break of 5 minutes. Please try to stand and stretch and, make sure that your body gets back to shape. And then we shall continue in the last hour to acquire more data sets. Thank you. All right, guys, welcome back from the break. Let's continue. We still have a lot of things to cover, but we'll try and hurry up. So when you run your analysis and it successfully completes, you should be able to see your layer added here. Okay. Right now it's just black and white, but later we'll try and work on it to make it look better. Next, what we need to do is acquire more data sets. So we had installed the semi-automatic classification plugin. So we're going to use it now. So what we do is click on the SCP on the main menu and then go to download products. This might be internet consuming, but if it is taking long, we'll go to another option which is faster. So when you open this, you need to first provide your login information for these platforms. Since we want Landsat data, so you can click on this link and then you can be able to go and log in. So you log in, or if you don't have login details, you can be able to create a new account. But I'm just thinking most people have already downloaded satellite imageries from USGS, so you should be able to have your login information already there. So I'll just click on Eros registration system because I don't need to register again, so I'll just go to continue as Thomas. I don't know why it keeps bringing this. Just going to remove this profile thing. So if this is really failing, I don't know why it's. I just click on usgs.gov. believe they have changed their interface or something. I don't know. I think they have changed their interface, so it's long since I visited this center. Let's go to Landsat collections. We could also access this site using this link. I'm just going to share it on the chat. I'm going to share the link in the chat and see if people can be able to reach there quickly. So using the link I shared, you should be able to go there directly, and then you should be able to log in. I've already logged in, so I'm not going to do much there. So you go back to Qgis if you've obtained your details. So going to USGS Earth Explorer was for those who have not registered, but if you've registered, you should be able to log in easily. So I'm just going to log in. I need to look for my details. I need to first log out. I need to check if my So I need to make sure that the details I'm entering in semi-automatic plugin are very correct. If they are not, then I won't be able to access any image. So when you finish entering your details, the username and the password, if you want to do Sentinel from Sci-Hub, you can also sign in or put your details here. So then you click on search. So when you click on search, just minimize this. When you click on search, under the window of search, you need to select the product. So the product that I'm interested in Landsat 8. And then I specify the dates. I want it from January 2020, the 1st, up to March 2020 in the month of date of 31st. And then sometimes you get challenges knowing exactly where you want to download your image from. So what you do is you click on OSM, this icon. So when you click on OSM, automatically it's going to open the OpenStreetMaps. Okay. And then when you open, you can zoom to your area of interest. I am going to go back to where my interest was. I hope I haven't lost it. Someone is saying my voice is low. My screen is clear. I don't know why it's not clear for you. I think I'm having a problem somewhere. My internet is buggy. Okay, thanks for letting us know that the screen is clear. If I recall, this should be my area of interest. I'm not quite recalling it well. Should be this one. So what you do is you zoom to your area of interest. And then when you zoom to your area of interest, you click on this plus sign or icon. When you click on it, it's going to turn to a different icon like a plus. So in this case, you click on the upper left corner. I'll do it again. So you left click on the lower side or the lower right corner, and then you left click on the upper right corner. So do you see something like that? So then you go back to your window. You've specified the product you want, which is Landsat 8. And then you specify the date, the start date and the end date. So here you have to specify the cloud cover, which I'm just going to type 10%. I have already selected my area of interest using this icon, the plus icon, by left clicking on the lower right corner and clicking on the upper left corner. So after doing that, I can click on search. So what the plugin is going to do is it's going to search for me all the Landsat images that fall within that area. It's going to zoom into my screen a little bit so that people can be able to see it well. So under the product list, you'll see a list of products that are available for you. So all of them are of March, Feb, and Jan. And then towards the right hand side as you scroll using the lower arms, you should be able to see the details of these images. In terms of cloud cover, you'll see that this one is of cloud cover percentage of 0, and this one is of 10. So we shall see more details of it. But if you want to preview, just click on the image you want to preview. Like in this case, I've clicked on 1. And then the image 1, if I look at the details here in terms of cloud cover, it's 0%. I can see also the other details of it here. So when you see it here, you can be able to have a quick overview of how your image really looks like before you actually go ahead and download it. Okay? Maybe unfortunately time has gone now, but you'll watch the recording. Thank you. All right. So after this, then you can be able to view this image, display the preview highlighted in the map in order to study more if you're satisfied with the preview. So you can click on preview it in the map, and so quickly you'll be able to see your image preview in the map. OpenStreetMap is making my thing very slow. So you'll be able to preview this image. It's just a JPEG. It's not as clear as possible, but you'll be able to see at least the level of cloud cover in the map and all that. So it's a temporary file. If you see on the left hand side, you'll see something like those who do electronics, it's like an ICU, something like that. So it's a temporary file. I'll just remove it, go back to the plugin window, which is right here. So if you're satisfied with this image, you can select it, and then you can be able to download this image. So when you select it, you go to download option. Now we are not interested in all the bands of the images of the Landsat 8. We are interested in a few of them. In this case, we are interested in red edge and near infrared. I'm not sure if that is in Landsat 8. So let's first look at the bands of Landsat 8. So Landsat 8 bands. So we'll be able to see details of Landsat 8 here. So we're interested in green band, which is band 3. I'll tell you why. Then we're interested in the red band. Then also we're interested in the infrared band. Yeah. So those 3 are the ones we're interested in: red, green, and near infrared. So we'll go back to QGIS, and we see that band 8, band 3, 4, and 5 are the ones we're interested in. So under Landsat 8 bands, I uncheck all the other bands and I'm into 3, 4, and 5 only. So I only check under Landsat bands. I check on band 3, band 4, and band 5. So then on the bottom side, you'll see some options to select. Only if previewing the layer, which is not what I want. So I check it because I had already previewed it, but for some cases you're not interested in only that. Maybe you want more than one. Processed images. So if you want the images to be processed to surface reflectance, then you can check that. And then the load bands in QGIS, that can also remain checked. So when you click on run, you'll be able to select the folder that you want to store the images. So like I mentioned to you that it's very important that you uncheck only if previewed in the layer, because sometimes if you have not previewed the image, then you will not be able to see it. Okay. Also, could be what I've forgotten to tell you is that if you don't have very good internet connection, you can be able to remove what you don't want to download from the search section. I'll just cancel this so that I explain that further. So under the search, you'll see that you have about 5 results. So what you do is you remove what you're not interested in, because after selecting the one that is not cloudy, you can delete the images that you're not interested in using this blue icon. So I select that, I remove it. This has a bit of clouds around this section, so I'm not interested in it. So the image that is more clearer is that one. So I remove this one also. I remain with one image in my product list. So it's very important that you remain with only one, so that when you reach to the stage of downloading, you don't download everything. So I'll click on run again. Just delete this and that, and then select folder. So now in the preview here, it's downloading for me the image that I'm interested in. I'm looking through the chat for those who are having challenges and needs to be helped. So why do you make this choice of the 3 bands? It's because we're not going to do the land use land cover classification. We already have the land use data. So we're interested in these bands because we want to calculate some indices, which we're going to do at a later stage. The indices we're interested in are the indices for assessing the water depth. We're also interested in the indices for the chlorophyll that measures the water quality, and then also the turbidity, which the bands that you can use for calculating those indices. So quickly you'll be able to see that since you've checked that you load bands in QGIS, you'll be able, when I close this window, you'll be able to see all the bands that you selected for download. But the reason why we're also selecting only 3 bands, because we don't want the whole image. It's going to be too heavy. yet we are not going to use all the bands. So you're basically interested in that. Shimless is asking, why did you leave selecting other bands for water surface? Shimless, which band is measuring water surface which I left behind? Okay, maybe you'll respond to that in the chat. Okay, Timothy will have this chat later. Yes, the video recording for this will be shared. Thank you. All right. So quickly, when you go to this lake that I'm interested in, you'll be able to see the 3 bands for that lake. And these bands are going to be very, very important for us at a later stage. So the image that we have received has already been pre-processed to surface reflectance. That's why you see these values are really making a lot of sense. They are not raw data. They have already been pre-processed to surface reflectant. Now, the next the next data set that we need to calculate, sorry a bit there. Let's go back to the climate engine. We need to download some more data sets from there as well. So we'll keep it on remote sensing as a type under the variables. And the data sets, I'm interested in Landsat 8. But also, for some reason, because we need the red edge band, we can go ahead and pick Sentinel, because Sentinel has a red edge band. So we'll pick Sentinel surface reflectance, Sentinel 2 surface reflectance other than the data set. And then the variable that we're interested in, this time we basically need we can download a number of data bands here. So this is also having green. It's not giving us the red edge. Okay, let's just pick the false color composite. So let's pick the color composite as our variable. The type is remote sensing, and then data sets is Sentinel-2 surface reflectance. But I think for this reason, since Sentinel also doesn't have red edge, let's just go with Landsat 8, just to be consistent. And then under the variable, we just pick the false color composite, which is near infrared, red and green. And then for processing, we are going to pick the median and average condition. It's just we are interested in values. Under calculation, statistics should be median, and then calculation should be values. And then we pick custom range, and we pick this particular month of 2020, so Jan 2020, and then the year 2020 in Jan, and then end date should be also March 2020. Okay. So when you go to the download section, you should be able to have the same details there already. So just click on download. So my request is too big. I'll have to reduce it a little bit. All right, there, because I'm just interested in this lake, so I don't need all the bigger areas. But remember, we already have this data set also already download from the other side. Okay. So when I click on download, I scroll down and be able to download my layer. I hope this time it's not beyond the exceeded pixel requirement amount. So I should be able to download my data set. Okay. It's going to take its time. So quickly, let's go ahead and also cut. I'm going to extract here. And quickly you'll be able to see it's a very long name, but you should be able to rename it. So here I'm just going to rename it as green. And then here I'm going to name it as NIR, near infrared. And then this one also I'm going to name it as red. So I have also these bands, red, near infrared, and green, which are also the same things that we had earlier downloaded from semi-automatic plugin. So what we do is just come here and remove a number of data sets here, which I probably don't need. And then I'm going to bring my bands. From the browser. I go to my directory where I have saved my the directory where I've saved all my data sets, which is in the desktop, and right here I pick red, near infrared, and green, and then I add them to the map. So these are the bands. So next we need to calculate the water depth, okay, to see the changes of the water areas in this lake. Remember, if the surface water keeps reducing or changing at a high rate, then that means the rate of vulnerability of that wetland is really, really high. So we'll go ahead and then go to SCP plugin, and then we go to processing, and then under processing we pick but before we go to processing, the way SCP works, you need to first put the bands in the band set. So click on the band set and then refresh the band set here, and then remove the ones that you're not interested in. Like now, this one I am not interested in this band. So I basically I can just select all, and then I'm going to add them here. So when I add it here, then I can remove what I don't want from here, from this band set. So I only remain with green, near infrared, and red under the band set 1. So under wavelength quick setting, you make sure you select Landsat 8. So automatically it's going to update it with the wavelength value, the center wavelength values. This is very key so that you can be able to understand some of this. Now, to first of all display this image as a false color composite, we have to push the near infrared up. So you click on the near infrared row, and then you click on this button to push it up. You click on it through the numbers on the left hand side so that you can be able to select the row. Push it up, then click on the red and push it to number 2. So what you're doing is you want to create a band combination of near infrared, red, and green. So when you do that, you can, under this menu of SCP, you can be able to just click on select the 432 bands, and then automatically you're going to generate a false color composite. Right now it looks funny, but when you I don't know why it's not looking as a false color composite. Near infrared, red, and I hope I didn't mess up with my naming. Okay, it's fine. Let's first I think it's considering it to be green, red, and near infrared. So it's fine. Let me take it down. My QGIS is freezing for some reason. I don't know why. So take this up and bring near infrared down. And then try again. Need to remove this virtual raster. So let's go ahead and create a band combination for this, although it is really not necessary. What we need to do quickly is to start generating the different indices. So the first one that we're interested in is under processing. We go to Landsat. So it's going to automatically know that this is Landsat 8 for this particular period, and you'll see all the details in here. So we look for the raster calculator, which is the band calculator, and within the band calculator you'll be able to see the default band indices here, but you can also be able to create your own. So the easiest way to do it is to just select the one that is existing, and then you'll be able to change the combination of the bands so that you don't get errors. So we could also just do our input here and say that for you to measure the chlorophyll level in the water, you need band 2. So band 2 is, in our case, let me just remove this one so that I don't see it in my raster calculator. So I'll refresh so that I have only this. So we're interested in band 2, which is the green minus red or rather near infrared, sorry. And then you close this bracket, divide by, open brackets again, band 2 plus band 4, which is going to be near infrared. In Sentinel, it's a red edge band. So green plus near infrared. So when you click on run, you can just leave this to be default. When you click on run, it will ask you for the output folder, and then you give it a name. Let's give it a name of chlorophyll A. Chlorophyll A. Our time is really running, but so you leave it as a geotiff. And here it will be running the indices, generating it. And you should be able to have chlorophyll A displayed here as an index. So just to check, you'll see that the higher values from are showing a higher values of chlorophyll within the water areas. So you can use the value tool to move which is already here. So you can use it to basically check for the different areas within your class. Okay. Good.
Recording in progress.
Okay, my internet had just gone off. So that's chlorophyll A dataset. Next, we want to calculate the turbidity, which will be band 4 of, so we go back to SCP, band, plugin, and then we go to band calc, we already have our band sets there, so we don't need to interfere with them now. So we go to SCP again. Go to SCP again. And now in this case, what we're interested in is band 4 divided by band 2. So red divided by green. And then when you run this, it's going to be turbidity. The file format is the TIFF. So quickly it's going to generate for me as it is running here. Just finished. So that will be the turbidity. It is ranging from a value of 0.4 to 1.9. So we'll later tomorrow give more details of how do you know that this lake is experiencing turbidity, and also explain more in details what turbidity means, what chlorophyll effect in a water areas of a wetland means. Okay. So probably the last one is working with generating someone is in the chat. Nice. Good, good, good. Okay, next we want to use want to first look at our land use land cover map that we had earlier. So we'll select all the layers here and just remove all of it because I mean it's too many. It's overcrowding this, and then also remove that. Now if we go to our land use land cover, my data folder is here, so I have all my data sets here. Now this layer, the way it comes, the legends is basically those 1 to 6 to 10, sorry. So what we're going to do here is to select single band pseudo color. Wait a minute. So properties, we go to unique values, and we classify to only 10 unique values because it's ranging from 0 to so many numbers, which doesn't make sense. So later, basically, what we need to do is these land covers come as values. So you need to make sure that you label them correctly according to this description that is here. The description is right. So the description is here. Value 1 is water. Value 2 is trees, grass, flooded vegetation, which will be sort of a wetland area, crops, shrubs and scrubs, built up areas, bare ground, snow, ice, and then the clouds. So you need to rename your attribute table of the land cover data sets to match that. Right now it's, so after doing a reclassification, it has now generated for me from value of 1 to 10. So it's not as many as it was initially. So quickly what we need to do is to access the attribute table of this file. Which I don't see here. So basically, I need to agree here. I am under much of QGIS. So, okay, basically what you can do, those who know QGIS quite well, you need to just only access the attribute table, and then you provide the labels for each value here, which I am not very good at. Maybe someone is telling me what to do in the chat. Let me see. Okay, our time is up. So we'll continue tomorrow with finalizing with this other section of processing the data. And then we're going to put all these data sets in already prepared tool. So it's going to be something just so fast. And then that will generate the vulnerability index that is required. Henry, if you're there, back to you. Henry. Okay, Eric is giving me some hint here. So let me rush there quickly.
Thank you very much. Thomas, I was actually asking that you unmute me.
Oh, okay.
I would like to thank you, Thomas, for the really, if you talk of hands-on, I think from the first minute to the latter, it's really been hands-on. And I believe as participants, we have benefited and are still benefiting. Our time is well spent, so I will not talk much, but just to highlight that tomorrow is our final day. And so we hope to wrap this up tomorrow with Thomas and Alan will be joining as we wrap this up. And of course, we'll have a formal close session where we'll have again remarks and a way forward from the partners, implementing partners, and the African Union. So we'd like to ask you to mobilize your colleagues. Maybe midway they dropped off, but it's not too late to join back. and complete the relay. Also, I would like to let you know that we are streaming this training live on Twitter as it's being carried on. So that means that it's archived as well. So all participants who have been asking for videos to refer to, all you need to do is I posted it in the Telegram chat. I've also posted it in the Zoom chat. So just go to that link to take you to the video of the training sessions, day 1, day 2, up to today as we have concluded. I don't have much to add, but to ask you to keep the conversation. Please also guide other participants. They keep, especially those who are not consistent, asking for the same thing. Please guide them, especially in the chat. Some still need the link to the training. Please do share with them. Some need the link to the chat or joining the group. Please do share, as well as joining the classroom, Google Classroom, to be able to access the course training materials. So that's it for today. So once again, we'd like to thank the facilitator, Thomas, for guiding us through this, to thank the IT team for really ensuring that everything is up and running, and everyone who has participated in developing content and everything. And also to thank the participants for being keen and attentive. We have seen the chats and the postings, and I hope you are liking the course. Tomorrow we'll have opportunity with the shared link to be able to evaluate this training so that future trainings are better organized. That's it from me, and have a blessed and a good evening. Bye for now.